Grab your coffee, mama. It's time for coffee, clients, and nap time. I'm Sarah Marie, and this is your guide to building a business that works for you and your family. Here, we'll dive into creating a thriving business that lets you be the hands-on parent you want while designing the life you've always dreamed of. So if you're ready to balance business success with family life and make it all work in a way that feels right for you, then let's dive in. Hey mamas, and welcome back to Coffee, Clients, and Nap Time. In today's Naptime Chat, I'm talking with Saskia Mardi, also known as the Business Minimalist. Saskia is a system strategist, ClickUp consultant, and mentor who helps business owners simplify the back end of their businesses so that they can create more calm, clarity, and capacity. In today's episode, we're chatting about why overwhelm is often a systems issue rather than a capacity issue, how to stop trying to do everything, what sustainable business growth actually looks like as a mum, and some really practical ways to reduce the mental load of running your business. So if you've ever felt like your business is living entirely inside your head, or that you're constantly busy but never quite getting ahead, I think you're going to get so much out of this conversation. So let's jump in. Hi, Saskia. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
I am very excited for our chat. I know we chatted a little bit just before in our pre-recording, but I'm really super keen to hear all about how you started in business, how that's looked for you, and your journey into parenthood and business and what that looks like.
Sure. That's a lot to unpack together. But for me, starting my business, having a baby was my catalyst. I didn't have a business before. I worked in corporate mainly. I was always in the back end of businesses doing operations. And when my baby was born, I realized I didn't want to work when someone else decided I had to work. And I really tried to change my role to lesser hours because we didn't want to bring our child to childcare straight away. And that wasn't possible. So I started to brainstorm, how can I help people to be an office manager without having an office? And I kind of went down this whole rabbit hole and discovered the world of virtual assistants. And so that's the first thing that I set up when I started my business with a baby.
I love that. What is your business looking like now? Because that's where you started. What are you doing now then? And what has that time period been like? Just so my listeners get a bit of the idea.
Sure. So yeah, I've got a 10-year-old now. So this year my business is turning 10, which is really exciting. And like I said, I started in offering virtual assistant services. And pretty quickly I realized that it was a really bad business model for me because I was charging by the hour and I kept streamlining and organizing my clients' businesses that they didn't really need me anymore. You know, people would hire me for 30 hours a month or 40 hours a month. And pretty quickly they'd be like, we only need you for 5. And so I was really shooting myself in the foot. And that's when one of my clients, who I'm always so grateful for, said to me, I don't think your magic is in helping me tick off my to-do list. It's in helping me figure out what I shouldn't be doing and how I could systemize everything else. And so that's probably about not even a year into that journey. And that's when I started focusing on more the strategy behind it and looking at how I can help people to simplify and systemize their business. And that's when I shifted more towards my business now, which is called the Business Minimalist.
I love that idea of your brain was built for more almost. Like, yes, you could be a task ticker and a task doer, but obviously your brain is built for more. And I love that someone recognized that for you and said, hey, hold up, wait a second.
Yeah, she's like, you're Marie Kondoing my business. Yeah, exactly. And you know, not necessarily meant for more, just meant for a different angle, I guess.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good way of putting it because there is definitely very much a need for task doers and for the VAs out there who are doing that kind of work. But sometimes we try to start a business which isn't quite aligned with where our strengths are and what we should be doing. So I just really love that someone recognized that.
But I think that's also business, right? Like, you start somewhere. And I think that's one of the lessons I've learned along the way is you don't figure it out by thinking about it. You have to go and do it. And then you do the thing. And then along the way, you're like, oh, actually, that's not really the right way for me. Or there's an iteration that happens. And slowly my business has very organically over the years kind of become what it is today, but it would not be what it is today if I didn't start somewhere.
Exactly. I'm keen to hear more about the business minimalist side of these things. We, especially mums in business, quite often overcomplicate our businesses. And I'm sure you can appreciate this. We think we need all the things and we need everything. And there's a lot of noise out there in the online world saying, do this, no, do this, no, do this. So in practice, what does it
Mm-hmm.
look like to minimalize your business, and what is it that you were doing for
Sure.
people?
Well, I'll take it a step back and I'll tell you the story of how I became a minimalist in general. And that was kind of the thing that inspired me to work this way. Because 15 years ago, I basically accidentally became a minimalist. I was anything but. I was definitely someone who was shoving my calendar full of all sorts of fun things, and I was shoving my cupboards full of things. And my husband and I at the time had a plan that we wanted to travel overland. I'd been living with him in Europe for a very long time. I think that was like 6 or 7 years at that stage. And we wanted to immigrate back to Australia, but we'd decided that we, instead of flying home, we're going to backpack home. And we'd mapped out it'd take us a year. And we had all these amazing, fun ideas. But then we looked around and our cupboards were overflowing and our bank accounts were completely empty. And we thought, well, something's got to change if we are able to create this journey. And so that's when our accidental minimalist journey started. We started getting rid of things. We started being really clear on, okay, what is it that we're trying to achieve? What's the actual goal? And then looking at everything in our life and making sure, is this aligned with achieving that goal? If not, it's going. And so we went through our lives with a fine tooth comb. We went through how we were spending money. We left the apartment we were living in. We went and lived in my mother-in-law's attic for a little while to save money. We stopped spending money going out for dinner. We changed how we were buying food, how we were buying clothes. And this whole journey basically meant that we ended up with our life that could fit into a backpack and a bank account full of money so that we could take this trip. We ended up going for almost 2 years because we were able to save enough. And, so fast forward 5, 6 years later, we're back in the Netherlands by this stage, and we decided we wanted to start a family. And our baby was born, and I had that feeling of, I don't want someone else to decide when I have to work. But I saw all the hurdles and I heard all the stories, like before you were saying, no one said it's possible to be at home with your baby and to run a business, and it's, you can't achieve it on that amount of time. And I thought, well, I'm going to try anyway. And I'm going to take that mindset of when we wanted to prepare for the trip. I'm going to get really clear. What is it I'm trying to achieve? What's the goal? And everything that is not aligned is going to get minimized. So I was looking at not necessarily this time how I was spending my money, but how I was spending my time. So who am I seeing? Is this something that's going to help me with my family or my business? Because those are my focuses right now. And if not, I'm going to press the pause button or we're going to get rid of it. And so by doing that, I was able to run the business on half the time it takes most because I wasn't trying to be everything to everyone. And I wasn't trying to be on every platform or everything. I just focused on, this is the goal. This is what's important right now. And if it doesn't bring me closer to that, it's not on my to-do list. And that's the kind of work that I was bringing into my clients' businesses as well as a VA, where they were sending me things and I was like, oh, you can automate that. Oh, we can create a system for that. We should use a template. Oh, no, we don't need to do that. That's not bringing you closer to what your goal is. And slowly I realized that the way that I was approaching this is not how most business owners were. They thought, if I'm not achieving the goal, I have to try and do more things. Whereas I was helping my clients to figure out, well, actually, what can we filter out so that we can just focus on the important things? So, we're taking 10 steps in one direction rather than one step in 10 directions. And that's how I discovered that bringing minimalism, that principle of minimalism into business was really game changing for my business and also for my clients.
What an amazing journey. And it's like, who would have thought that this idea of simplifying your life, this minimalistic lifestyle, could relate so cleanly and so directly into the way you run your business and the way you support your clients. I would love to hear a little bit more then about how mums in business can start identifying themselves where they're holding extra crap, I want to say, in their business that possibly isn't aligned or doing them any good.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think it's the same in life as it is in business, right? That usually there's this path that's laid in front of us, and everyone has these societal expectations of this is how you do life. And once you've done this, you go and do that next thing. You get the education, and then the career, and then you get the house and the car and the bigger house and the bigger car, and it's all this continual growth in size, but not necessarily in depth, shall we say? And it's the same in business as well. Is that people think, well, I have to continually do this thing, and if I'm on this platform and it's going well, I have to go to that platform, and I have to be everything to everyone. But rather just to really strip it back and to ask yourself, okay, but who am I actually trying to reach? If you're not trying to reach, a certain segment of clients, for example, if you've got a face-to-face, a brick and mortar business and your clientele is, I don't know, millennials or younger kids, you're not going to be hanging out on LinkedIn because it doesn't make sense to you. Why would you try and hang out in the places and spend time creating content when it doesn't make sense for your business? So that's one of the things I would definitely suggest, is to get really clear on who are you trying to reach and where is it that these people are hanging out, so you don't waste oodles of time on marketing, because we know marketing takes a lot of time to reach people who aren't actually your ideal client.
That's a really easy place to start as well. Like, it feels like it's such a big thing, but it's such a simple place to start to really get quite clear on that. Now, I'm also a systems nerd, so I would love then to chat a little bit about how we can use systems in our business to kind of help simplify these things out. And especially, again, mums in business, we have enough going on in our heads. Why are we trying to hold all the business operations
Yes.
in our heads as well? So
Yeah,
in your experience and your
for sure.
expertise, how can we start to do that in the back end of our businesses?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I had to think of is like David Allen, the creator of Getting Things Done, where he would always say, your head is for having ideas, not for holding them. It's an idea generation machine, but then we got to put things somewhere. And I definitely am very big into systems. It's a big part of my business. I help people to build like custom systems and ClickUp systems in the back end. But when we talk about systems, I think it's good to say this is not just software. This is not just a to-do list. Systems are basically the step-by-step process of how we do things. So that could be your morning routine. It's how you brush your teeth. You pick it up with your right hand. You get your toothpaste in your left and you put it on. Like, everything is a system. The difference between if we've consciously created a system or subconsciously is the difference of whether or not it's actually helping us, right? So if we don't consciously create our morning routine, maybe it's not really serving us very well. Whereas if we do create it consciously, it can be something that sets us up for an amazing day. So when we talk about systems, yes, we can dive into tools, but I think the first place that I would suggest is that people get clear on what are the repeat actions that are happening every day, whether that's in your home, like the meals you're cooking, the way you're cleaning, things that have to get done to keep the house running, or whether it's in the business, how are you actually emailing clients? What's your outreach like? How are you delivering your services? That we look at all of those and figure out if we can, well, first of all, I would strongly suggest anything you're doing often to create a process, which is just writing out the step by step of how that system runs. And then to look at, how can I simplify it? What are the steps that aren't necessary? What are the things that could be automated? What are the things that I could outsource? And so if we're looking at your private life, that could be things like, well, how about I actually sit down with my partner, if you have a partner, and look at, what do we need to do to keep the house running? What are the tasks that are happening every week? We got to vacuum or mop or clean the bathroom, whatever it is, and divvy it up and just make the decision ahead of time. Okay, well, I'll be in charge of these things and you can be in charge of those things. And that way, there's not going to be the eye roll of the dishes didn't get done or whatever it is, because you know who's in charge of what. Everyone gets a job, right? I don't know if you use that in your household, but I find that really helps us. And the same with everything else, looking at, all right, you're in charge of food shopping and I'm going to be in charge of cooking, or whatever the thing might be. And then in your business as well, to look at, okay, are there things that I could be outsourcing? And if so, who could be helping me with that? right? Are we looking at outsourcing to a tool like an automation? There's amazing things that are possible online these days. Or are we actually looking to outsource to a team member? And once we've actually figured out what we're doing, you could also look in the business at moving towards tools such as ClickUp is a system that I love, looking at, okay, if there is a task that I'm doing very often, there potentially could be an automation in the tool that can help me. And
Mm.
at the very least, getting at least the ideas out of your head and into a task list is going to be game changing. If you're trying to hold everything in your head all the time, it's very overwhelming. You're never going to remember everything. Things are going to get forgotten. But if you put it into the system, not only will they not get forgotten, that chunk of brain that was trying to hold on to those things is now free to do other stuff.
You've mentioned previously to me that overwhelm is often seen as a systems issue rather than a capacity issue, which we've just spoken about there. Systems can help with that. Why then do many mums in business assume that the mental load and the overwhelm is their issue and don't even think to outsource it or build a system around them to help them through it?
Hmm. Yeah. I think when we're in a state of overwhelm, we get this feeling that we just have to continue on, we have to push through, or we think we have to even do more, add more to the mix to figure it out, right? Like if we bring it back to the morning routine, often people think to optimize my time in the morning, I have to add more shit to it to be a better person. But in reality, what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for failure. Because if you've created a 27-step morning routine, you're always going to feel like shit afterwards unless you hit 27 steps. Whereas if you actually break it down, like, okay, what is this time actually about? What am I actually trying to achieve? It's always about just taking a step back, getting that bird's eye view and being more conscious about the choice you're making. So whether it's your morning routine or feeling really overwhelmed with everything you have to do, stop, take 15 minutes and just take a breather, first of all, and look at everything that you're trying to do. Do I actually need to do this all? Does it all have to happen now? And do I have to do it specifically or could someone else help me? But often I find that we keep adding to the things that we think we have to do in order to get there faster. But that's often exactly the opposite of what we should be doing. We want to be cutting things out. It's like we're these sort of, oh, what's the word? We're these very optimistic beings who think we can achieve so much, but we're also very good at underestimating how long it takes us to do things. And it's kind of a recipe for disaster, right? So what we actually want to be doing is assuming that everything takes longer than it will take and underassuming what we can actually achieve in a day. Because if you're going to have 5,000 things on your to-do list every day, you're going to end your day feeling like a failure, guaranteed. But if you strip it back and figure out what are the most essential things that I need to be doing, these are the top 5 things that have to happen today. I have some, extra tasks that would be nice that I get to tick off, but I do these 5 things and my day is a success.
Mm.
Right? We're not workhorses. We don't want to continually shove things onto our to-do list. We want to actually get clear with ourselves. And I catch myself all the time with this. Just last night, I was running through again everything that I have going on in the upcoming. I've got like in 6 or 7 weeks, we're going to Europe for a month to visit family. And I was very enthusiastic when I put my plans of what I was going to achieve before we went there. And this whole week, every day I open up my to-do list and I think, I can't do that. I can't do that. So again, I take myself through my own process and I'm like, all right, stop, take a step back. And I do it's called the 4Ds, the 4D method: ditch, delegate, date, and do. So I ask myself 4 questions. First of all, I get really clear. What is the thing that I'm trying to achieve before I leave? And I've got 3 main goals that I'm working towards this quarter. So those are the things I want to focus on. And with that, I look at everything, all the projects I have, all the commitments, all the tasks, and ask myself, is this aligned with getting me towards one of those things? If it is in no way aligned with anything, I'm getting rid of it, not doing it at all. Big black cross through it, not happening anymore. And if it's staying there because it is something that's important, then I ask myself, okay, so it has to get done. But does it have to get done now? Does it have to get, from my example, before I'm going on holidays? Well, I mean, I would love to get this done now, but in reality, it can wait until I come back from holidays. Okay. So then I'm actually going to move it to a different time. And then we want to look at delegate. Well, okay, it does have to get done, But does it have to get done by me? Could I be automating this thing? Could I be outsourcing it to someone else? Could I be asking my partner or friend to help with even like the kid pickup for the next couple of weeks while I'm focusing on this? And then the last thing is do. So we know we've gone through, we're ditching things, we're delegating, we're dating things, and whatever's left over is do. So I've taken the 15 things that I had planned for today, I've brought them down to 5 things because those are the only ones that are actually essential for me to move the business forward towards the things that I think are important. And I think that's always also an important thing, is to really get clear on what your definition of success is, because that can be very different, right? Like for you, Sarah, what's important for you, the phase of life you're in, the ages of your children, what you and your partner are trying to achieve, that could be completely different from what I'm trying to achieve at the moment. But if we keep trying to do what everyone else is doing, because, well, I saw that Sarah's doing this, but yeah, but Sarah's not trying to achieve the same goal that I am. Maybe we have a very different definition of success. And it's like everything in life, we love to compare ourselves to everyone else. But if we keep doing things just because everyone else is doing it, it's a recipe for disaster. You got to do the things that are bringing you closer to what you want to achieve.
It is. I really love the 4-part process. I use a similar one myself within my business. So I really love that it's almost a universal thing, I think, to actually look at what we're spending our time on, and is it important, and do we need to do it? Can we delegate it? Does it need to be delayed? Love that. As you were talking that, my heart was going, yes, 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 that's it. We really need to take that mental load out, work what's going on, and give it a priority, and make sure we're not doing it just because we feel we should. Really be really intentional
Yeah.
about tasks that we're doing.
Exactly. And it's completely different from how most of us grew up, right? Because we've grown up in a consumerist society where we've been taught, if you want to be happy, buy more shit. And if you want to feel worthy, do more shit. That's the kind of mindset that most of us have grown up with in the modern world. I am as worthy as all the things I'm achieving, and I am as happy as all the stuff that I have around me. And neither of them are true, but we all fall into this trap. And that's why I say I've been doing this work for 10 years. And still, last night, I was looking at my projects that I had, and I was like, I can't do everything. But, and definitely also being a woman going through your cycle, at certain phases in my cycle, I feel like I'm Superwoman and I can do everything. And then there's other moments in my cycle where I realize, actually, this is the reality and I only have this amount of time. And what, ovulating Saskia decided was possible is very different to what luteal phase Saskia can achieve. So it's good to I call myself out all the time on things like
10 or 20 things into my to-do list today, and absolutely I'll get them done. And I caught myself doing it this week, and then I was just moving them to the next day and to the next day because there was no way I was going to get
it's like
20
the
things done in one
perpetual
day.
domino in your to-do list.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to touch a little bit now on what sustainable business growth can look like when we're in these different seasons. You spoke about when you're in your cycle, how things can differ, but also in our different seasons of parenthood, that has a really big impact on how we can grow our business, why we want to grow our business. Do we want to grow our business? If someone is keen to grow their business, what does sustainable business growth then look like in the different seasons?
No. I think that's a good one that you said, if you want to grow the business, because I feel like that's one of those things, right? We continually are told that the business has to continually become this giant, gargantuan thing that we keep growing. Again, getting really clear on what does success mean to you. Does that mean that you're growing towards the multi-million-dollar business with a big team? Or does it mean I can just easily generate this certain amount each year and my family can live in a really comfortable way? Maybe that's what you're after. When it comes to growth, I think that, everyone's always very excited about leveling up, but I think it's really good before we look at leveling up is make sure we've leveled out, right? Because people talk about growth and scaling, but I feel like they're two very different things, where growth generally is that your revenue is increasing. I think scaling is when your back end is also coming up with you. And generally, this is when clients will call me, is that they have been growing in revenue, but their business hasn't been growing on the back end to match it. So when you are reaching whatever level it is that you're at the moment, is to make sure before we make a goal to continue upwards, is to make sure that everything is running smoothly as is. Because if you're feeling stressed out and chaotic now, more revenue and the things it takes to get there is not going to reduce that chaos in your head. It's going to exacerbate it. So my suggestion would always be, before looking at how we can launch the next thing or grow the next thing, is master what you already have. Create systems for everything that you already have. Those repeat tasks that you're doing, map them out, simplify them, and if you can, automate them. At a minimum, get them into a task management tool like ClickUp. When you've got offers that you're already delivering, is it going easily? Have you automated that process as much as possible? Right? Like, let's say you're a creative or a service-based business. There's tools like Dubsado, which you could use, for example, for scheduling, for client onboarding, for invoicing, for contracting, and it's all automated. And I think it's really affordable. I don't help clients with Dubsado, but I think it's like $20 a month or something that you can get started with Dubsado, which is peanuts, right? And that can help you to take what for some people is a few hours to onboard a client into something that happens automatically in the back end. So to figure out, what are the things that I'm doing now? Let's make sure that everything is licked and you've reduced the amount of time it actually takes you to do those things, and then start looking at growth. So that's how I would look at sustainable growth. It's mastering where you are before you're trying to do the next level.
I'm really curious to hear, when you started your business 10 years ago, did you ever imagine you would be where you are now in terms of your own growth and the way that you run your business? Like, were you very clear at the start that that's where you wanted to be, or has it been a bit of a journey for you over the past
Oh,
10 years?
goodness, no, I had no idea. I was in a survival mode, I think, when I started my business. For me, it was just being able to replace the income that I had within the hours that I wanted to work. I guess that was it. And I couldn't have foreseen the changes that would have taken place. I think, or at least I feel like most people wouldn't have been able to foresee that. At least I didn't. For me, also a big part of starting the business was I did want to be able to be home with my child, but also we're a multicultural family. I'm from Australia. My husband grew up in the Netherlands, but he comes from Indonesia, where we live now. So we've immigrated quite a few times. So for me, a big thing that was important with the business was just to create something that I could carry with me. Because every time I moved, my career took a hit. And this way, the thing I guess that was always the goal is at least to be able to, if we pick up our lives, the business comes with us. So that's definitely something that I always had in mind. But the work that I'm doing now was not actually the work that I set out to do. No.
I love that our businesses have their own journey, in that I'm a big believer that our businesses have their own energy. Like, we obviously have our own energy, but our businesses have their own
Mm,
energy and they have
yeah.
their own journey that they go on. And we're just kind of the vessel that allows our businesses to grow and evolve. And when we do start our business, I know personally, I could never have imagined I would be here when I started my very first business, or when I started this reiteration of my business, 5 years ago before I had my
Mm,
youngest. There's no way I could have imagined that where I am today is where I would be. I didn't even realize that
mm,
18 months ago that where I am today is where my journey was
yeah,
leading
for
me.
sure.
I would then like to hear your thoughts on how, as mothers, we do have to be more efficient in business. Like you said, you started your business because you wanted to be home. You wanted a business that could come with you. How do you think that journey and that element of being a parent running a business has adapted and changed with your business and made you more efficient, I'm going to say, and like better at doing things that you
Mm.
probably didn't even know that you were good at doing?
Yeah. So definitely, I think being a parent and running a business, I mean, being a parent in general, you just have to learn how to be efficient, right? And when you start a business alongside that, it's not only the time it takes up, it's the mental capacity. It's the mental load of, when you're working a salary job, for the most part, you just assume the salary is going to come next month, right? You don't have to worry about it. But the
Mhm.
business, it's a whole different story. So it's definitely that mental capacity load as well. I think when it comes to efficiency, I don't know if you're familiar with the term Parkinson's law, that time or resources will expand to what's available to you. So, for example, if I tell you you have 15 minutes to prepare for a live talk. That's it. I need you on stage in 15 minutes. Figure out what your points are. You're going to figure it out. But if I tell you 3 weeks ahead of time that you're going to go do a live talk and you have to prepare for it, it will take you 3 weeks to prepare because you will take the time and resources that are available to you, right? And when we're moms and we're running businesses, the resources that we have available when it comes to time shrink and we just figure out a way. I think that's definitely one thing is that things take as long as you allow them to. So if we decide for ourselves, okay, so I've got an hour to meal prep for the remainder of the week to make sure that we have some go-to options that are going to save me time throughout the week, you'll get it done. And it's the same in
Yeah.
business. I love setting a timer sometimes because I'm really good at being someone who can make 1,000 changes, for example, in a Canva template, document, whatever. I will check, maybe I'll move it here for a millimeter. Maybe I'll move it there. Maybe I'll change the color. Maybe I'll do this. I set myself a timer. You're allowed 15 minutes to do X and it has to be done. And that's definitely been an interesting way of being able to achieve things in less time because, when you are a mom in business, you don't have the same luxuries as those who are able to run a business 24 hours a day and only have to think of themselves. So, yeah, I guess that would be one thing that really worked for me. It's just setting those limits.
I, as a self-professed perfectionist, feel the Canva moving, jiggling hours. Suddenly it's 2 a.m. and that project that was going to take me 5
Yeah.
minutes, it means I'm up in the middle of the night still obsessing
Mhm.
over what that looks like. I blame my creative side, but I think part of me is just a perfectionist about the work that I put out into the world. So I like that
Yeah.
idea of like capping
And
it. Like, you've
I
got
repeat
20
to
minutes.
myself, like, near enough is good enough.
Yes, I've worked on that one a lot
Yeah.
over the years. Um, I think my favorite thing that was ever said to me was, you do everything at 100%. Most people would do what you're doing at 60%. So if you put it out at 90%, you're already like heaps ahead of anyone else who's putting that work out. And I was
Exactly.
like, oh my God, that's so true. Like, here I
Exactly.
am wanting 100% perfection. But even if I put out 90% perfection, I'm still
Yeah.
miles ahead of most people putting that kind of work out. And I had to like
Yeah. And I
rewire
think
my
also
brain a
that
bit.
no one notices. No one notices that
Mm,
last 10%. No one but you.
just me, just the perfectionist in me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
exactly. No one else notices that and no one cares.
it's a good reminder, really, that we are the ones that notice in our business, and the people we're supporting, the people we're working with, just won't. And especially in our line of work with systems and backend and business support, like, they're just so thankful to have someone else's eyeballs on their business, supporting them in their business, that
Mhm.
that extra 10% is just us obsessing over our own perfection, really. So
Yeah.
very good reminder to
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. That and also the thing that I run into a lot is that people think it's only me. I'm the only one who's disorganized. I'm the only one who isn't able to tick off my to-do list. I'm the only one who isn't able to organize this. Like, just as a reminder, like, I over the last 10 years have worked with so many business owners, from starters, six-figure businesses, multi seven-figure businesses, and everyone's struggling with the same thing. Everyone is not sure how to prioritize properly. Everyone is not sure how to, make sure that they actually stay on track with the thing. And everyone's feeling overwhelmed. It's not just you. Most people struggle with this.
I think that's a really good reminder as well. Which leads me to my next question for you then. So many founders feel like their whole business lives in their head. What are your thoughts on why that
Hmm.
happens? And how does that mental load then impact how business owners show up in their business?
Yeah. The easiest way to win, like today, like you get off this podcast from listening to it and you just set a timer for 10 minutes and do a brain dump. Like, that
Mm.
is already going to create so much clarity for you. Because the thing is when things are in your brain, you can't make all the connections. You're going to forget things. Our brains are amazing supercomputers, but there are limitations for when it's all in here. So the first thing I would do is get a brain dump, write everything out of your head, make a list, personal stuff, business stuff, and just dump everything. Because it's really hard to make the decision if it's not in front of you. And when you've written everything down, to just take a look and be like, okay, What's actually happening? What needs to happen? What do I think needs to happen? What's actually not important? And start crossing shit off that is not important. That, first of all. And second of all, whether it is a paper notepad or whether it is an online tool, I don't care. Go and write down all the things that you have to get done and set dates next to them. The reason I prefer an online tool personally is because if I say it's happening next Tuesday, it means I don't see it until next Tuesday, right? If it's a physical one, I have to look at it all the time and I'm reminded. But so when I come into my desk each day and I have a look at ClickUp and ClickUp tells me, okay, today's Thursday, you have to do these 5 things. Awesome. I go in and do those things. And that's the kind of space that you're going to create, even if you're using a paper to-do list or you're using a system, is you've just gotten all of the shit out of your head and put it outside, because things also generally don't look so big and scary when you've gotten them out of your head. When they're in your head, you can just go in spirals and it all feels too much and it's all overwhelming. It's because your head's not made to hold it all. So get it out of your head, make a plan. I'm going to do this week and I'll do that next week. And all this shit, I don't have to worry about for a little while. I'm just going to move that aside. We'll look at that later. But just get it out of your head.
I love that. Now, on a personal note, I do use ClickUp and I feel like it's just as messy as my brain sometimes, because I
Okay.
feel like sometimes I brain dump into it. This is me being very, very vulnerable here, listeners, very vulnerable. Sometimes I brain dump into it and my assistant has access to it, and then my overdue tasks just get bigger and bigger and bigger. So, from
Mhm.
a business minimalist's point of view, what would be the first thing you would suggest someone in my situation who is utilizing the platforms, the tech, the apps, the technology, but are finding it isn't really
Mm.
helping because the mess in their brain is just becoming the
Yeah.
mess in the system? What would be the first step for someone like me?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's not just you. Like, this is such a common thing that I run into. So one of the things I do, right, is I build out custom ClickUp systems. And one part of that is because while ClickUp is amazing and it can do everything, the problem is it's amazing and it can do everything, which makes it super overwhelming to grasp when you're new in the system, right? So that's part of the reason people hire me. The other part is before we even look at ClickUp, we're going to do a deep dive into you and your business. Like I said, what does success mean to you? What are you trying to achieve? What are you actually working towards? That we clarify that bit first. And then I will go through their business with a fine tooth comb and look at every single process. Okay, how are we doing outreach? How are we doing delivery? How are we doing operations? Every bit we're going to go through with a fine tooth comb to help figure out how you can simplify it. But part of the reason that we do that is because if we just take your existing systems and shove them into ClickUp, which is possible, it means that you're taking all your bad habits with you from your previous way of working into the new way of working. So you've taken the problem and just dressed it up prettier, basically. So the thing that I would suggest for you to do is to set some time apart, whether that's alone or with your assistant or you're going to work with someone or you chat with AI, and just go, okay, I'm really overwhelmed at the moment. My overdue tasks are completely overflowing. I need to just recalibrate and figure out what I'm actually working towards. It always comes back to that. What are you trying to achieve? And look at just 2026. What is the overarching goal? Maybe there's a word you have, or there's an income you want to reach, or there's something that you want to achieve this year. Okay. So we want to achieve that. What does that mean for each quarter, right? We're about to walk into quarter 2. So let's split the year into 3 chunks. So in order to achieve X, I want to do this in quarter 2, this in quarter 3, and that in quarter 4, right? And it feels really hard because you want to achieve everything right now, right? But the thing is, you can do anything, but you can't do everything all at once. Is to really make the hard decision and say, okay, well, let's say, I really want to upgrade my marketing. I have this new offer I want to launch, and I also want to hire a team member. Let's say that those are the things you want to work on. That you actually have to look at and make a decision. Well, what are you going to focus on first? Because you can't do them all at once. You can't and upgrade all of your marketing and launch a new offer and bring someone else on when it's just you in the business. It's not possible for most people. Maybe there's a superhuman out there who can do it all. I can't. So you make the tough decision. Okay, Q2, I'm only going to focus on that new offer. And then Q3, it's going to be all about that marketing upgrade. and then making sure that I've got all the systems in place to run both of them. And then I'll look at hiring that team member. As an example, maybe it's a different order. It depends on how your business is at that moment. And once you've made that decision, you go, okay, so anything that has to do with marketing or hiring that person, not going to think about it now. I'm going to set that in Q3 or Q4. Okay, so what's left over? I only have these things to focus on, right? So that way you've taken this big mental load away and you've pushed it aside. Because if you've got the tasks that keep rolling over every day, you feel shit about it, right? You don't look at it and think, oh, well, you think and you go, again, I told myself I'd do it tomorrow, and today's tomorrow, and I didn't do it. And I keep pushing it forward and I keep pushing it forward. That creates a lot of tension inside you, and it's not a fun feeling to have. So we want to avoid the difficult feeling and make the hard decision up front to make it easier as we go on. So again, like also with the 4Ds, you've figured out what you're going to be doing. Okay, what can I ditch? What can I delegate? What can I do? Or what can I date? What do I actually need to do?
Yeah.
And I think there's also, there's two main things that you're doing. You've got your upkeep tasks. They're the things that have to happen all the time. You have to always be doing your admin. You have to always make sure you're creating content for the things for the platforms you're on. You always have to be delivering your work. Those are the upkeep tasks that always happen. But it's the secondary one that we need to make the hard decisions of what projects that we're going to be doing or not doing.
I'm definitely going to have another look at my systems now and see if we can get back on top of it. But for my listeners who resonate so much with the way that I just described my work life and want to work with you to move through that, as I will probably be dropping into your inbox and asking you to come help me because I think it needs to be set up properly. How can people reach out to you? How can they work with you? What are your offerings at the moment to support people in this way and help them minimize all the crap in their business?
That's exactly how I put it. Yeah, thank you. So there's two main ways that I work with people. One is I work one-on-one with people long-term. That's in my mentorship. And that's basically where I slide in next to someone. You're already doing well with your business. And, from the outside, it looks like you figured it all out. And behind the scenes, you feel like a high-functioning mess at max capacity. So I'll come in and help you to do all the things we spoke about, to figure out what it is that you're trying to achieve, to create the plans to actually bring you there, and then keep you accountable along the way. So that's a one-on-one way of working together where I'll be joining you weekly on calls. And then the other one is, like I said, with the ClickUp build. So that's for people who are, again, at that same stage where they think, the business is going well, I'm ready for that next level of growth, but I can't get there with the backend that I have now. My backend needs to match, what the business is actually bringing in revenue. So I'll come in and go through those 3 stages. First we'll actually figure out what it is you're trying to achieve. We're going to then make sure that we've gone through all of your processes and everything in the business with a fine-tooth comb, and I'll design a ClickUp that's going to work for you. And in phase 2, I actually go and build out the thing. You don't have to lift a finger. And then phase 3, we take all of your existing tasks, all of your projects, everything, all the automations, and I make sure it's running nicely in the system so that you can just go off on your merry way and run a very streamlined business. So if anyone's interested in contacting me, the easiest way to find me is everywhere with Saskia Mardi. It's hard to spell, so we'll put it in the show notes. But I hang out mainly on Instagram and LinkedIn and Substack.
Perfect. And now I know you mentioned to me prior to our call that you have a free offer, potentially a free download.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
well.
thanks for the reminder. So I've got a free guide and it's called How to Save a Day a Week Without Hiring a Team. And it's a simple process you can run through by yourself. It's at saskiamardi.com/guide. And that's something that can help you run through some of the things we spoke about today and also some other things that you can easily implement on your own in order to really start saving time.
Perfect. I will drop all the links to connect in with Saskia and the link through to that guide into the show notes. So if you're listening and you're keen, go to the show notes and head over there and connect with Saskia. Now, we're getting to the end of this call and it's been such a lovely conversation. I felt very seen in what we've spoken about. So thank you so much for your time and energy today. But I always like to finish out these naptime chats with the question, what is one piece of advice that you would give a mum just starting out in business?
I think I'm going to sound like a broken record, but the number one thing, the place to start, other than the brain dump, is to get clear on what you're trying to achieve. What does your version of success look like? That is different for everyone. And what your answer is will dictate the best way of approach for you. So, what does success mean to you? And not just looking at, I want to make six figures or, forget about the numbers. What does it actually mean to you? Why do you want those numbers? Is it so that you can be home all the time with your children? Is it so that you're able to, live a certain lifestyle? Is it so that you are able to support a certain kind of person? Maybe there's a particular person you want to work with. But what does success mean to you? Define that for yourself. And all of the decisions that you do after that should align with that.
Thank you for that insight of wisdom, because I think a lot of us start businesses without being really clear on that why. We just start a business. Like sometimes
We
it just
see what
happens.
everyone else is doing.
Yeah, exactly.
We look on
So I
Instagram
think
and see what everyone else's goals are.
I think it's really important that we actually, when starting a business, to be clear on that. And just imagine how aligned your business is going to be when you know why you're doing it, more so than just, I'm going to start a business and XYZ
Yeah.
is really successful
Yeah.
in
And
doing this kind of
also,
business. So let's do that.
Yeah. And also, the reason I say don't look at the financial amount is because let's say that your goal is to make six figures this year. I could achieve that by starting a cleaning business, by being a virtual assistant, by being a coach, by getting a job in corporate, there are endless ways to reach a financial goal. And that's why I don't want that to be the only focus, right? There's so many things that I could be doing, and there's so many things that everyone else could be doing. I'm really good at mowing the lawn, but I do not want to start a lawn mowing business. It's not something that lights me up. So when you're looking at that definition of success, look deeper, ask yourself why. And when you give the answer, ask why about 6 more times, and then you'll figure out what it is that you actually want.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And on that note, I just want to thank you again, Saskia, for all your time and energy chatting with us today and just for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
My absolute pleasure.
Thanks for joining me on Coffee, Clients and Nap Time. If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another mum who's ready to build their dream life. You can also join our Facebook page or Instagram to stay connected every day of the week. The link is in the show notes. Just remember, you've got this, and I'm here to help every step of the way.